Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing. I am one of your hosts, Lauren Gray, coming to you live from Amersfoort, Netherlands. Hopefully, waiting for some of my compatriots in crime, Mr. Robert Cole and so forth, to join me as co-host, since I am on borrowed battery time as well as possibly borrowed data service. So I'm hoping they might be able to join us so we can continue the show. Do thank you for joining in live for us, for those people, and we'll get you kicked over live to YouTube in just a moment as well, also on Facebook and Twitter. We'll co-host on that. Oh, Mr. Robert Cole seems to be joining the room, which is a good thing. There he is. Is he? Is he? Yes, he is.
Well, I had no idea that you were actually going to be here.
Well, I only here for a brief time because I'm on battery power and on mobile data.
Wow. Wow,
So
that's pretty impressive.
I wanted to make sure that we were on, and given that it's the show 199, I would find it very hard to think that I would miss a show this far into our tenure. So
I had a whole little bit set up to discuss that since I thought I was going to be alone on this. So,
well, see, you're not going to be able to pull that on me yet. I still have yet to miss a show, so we're still good.
That's
thank
right.
you. Thank
so
you
you've already done the intro.
I did, but you know what?
Excellent.
I would love to hear your intro. I would love to hear how you were going to enter the show if I wasn't here. Picture I wasn't here. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Children of all ages. No.
You know what I thought about doing was going over and letting Stuart and his Fuel Travel team steal the show and hijack it on Pirates Day or something.
Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, on Pirates Day?
On Pirates Day, yeah.
Talk like a pirate day?
Talk like a pirate day. Have them steal the show on Pirates Day or something. That would be kind of fun, I would think.
Yes.
But I do appreciate you taking the time to host it and to cover my butt while I am out and about traveling the countryside, far and wide.
Yes. You're over now. Are you still in the Netherlands?
Yes, I am. I'm in a wonderful town called Amersfoort.
In the specific, the country of the Netherlands, as opposed to the generic Netherlands being just elsewhere.
Elsewhere, yeah.
The center of the universe, the United States, right?
Yeah, my mental state of Netherlands. Yes, no, and not to call it Holland. Holland is only part of the Netherlands. But no, we're visiting friends. Renee is we're going to an old school reunion from when she lived in Jakarta. A lot of students that she went to school with, of course, are Dutch. And they're here, so they're doing a bit of a reunion. So we're going to do at an Indonesian restaurant. We're going to do at Eistafel, which is a wonderful dinner.
I was going to say geographically, yeah, Amsterdam or the Netherlands, not that close to Indonesia, but yes, very large Dutch population there. So, yeah, one of the best Indonesian restaurants I've ever eaten at was actually in the Poconos, and it was a former KLM pilot who had set up a little restaurant there, and it was fantastic.
I'll be damned. Hey, I got to make sure over on YouTube, if you want to do some of the topics, I'll go over and go on YouTube to make sure that we are live on it as well.
Great. This will take Lauren's battery life down to 1%, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. The lights will dim. The lights will dim over here, although they have a lot of great renewable energy, so I think we're going to be okay.
Well, yeah, the running joke for the lead topic. The lead topic is not Disney opening its new land, which is its new attraction, which is Star Wars Galaxy Edge out in Anaheim. But we are pretty sure that Stuart Butler and Ed St. Ange are currently in line to get in or something. So,
by far, yeah.
Possibly Tim Peter as well. So that's my theory for why they aren't here. So. But yes, Disney spent 5 years making a Star Wars land, and we'll have to see if that takes the wind out of the sails of Universal's. Stuart has shown up. Maybe he's live from the line in Anaheim, perhaps. He's streaming from a GoPro or something. I don't know.
Streaming from a GoPro, he might be. Mr. Stewart, how are you,
guys?
Sir?
I wish I was in Anaheim.
He's not in line at Anaheim. I'm shocked.
I may be in line in Florida, or in Orlando, come August when it's at Disney World as well. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But the second one, really, I don't know if that's really the same thing. No.
Are you questioning my fandom right now?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
Yeah.
There is no
Exactly.
question of fandom for you. There is no question of fandom for this whatsoever. I was looking at the previews for some of the stuff. It's going to be absolutely incredible. I love the never-ending story part of it. I love how they're progressively building it so that it is your story and you continue it on. It's almost like a real version of role playing in a set that you can continue the storyline into their app world where you get to continue that storyline. I mean, I think that's pretty cool that you actually become a character in Star Wars as a game, and you walk into that from what you did in the park, which I think is pretty cool.
I'm already planning my retirement in Orlando and going to become one of the crew members there. Like, to live in that world it's crazy.
Any particular crew
crazy.
member or that you have in mind, or just absolutely anything? The bantha, the bantha cleaner, or
Panther doo-doo. Oh, we lost Stuart.
We've lost Stuart. He's out looking for.
We called him Panther doo-doo. And he said no. He can't
Bantha
doo-doo. Yeah, Bantha doo-doo.
But he's opened another window to see if there's an application online, I believe.
So I'm literally at the train station. In Amsfort,
nice.
Because that's where everybody was meeting for the restaurant. And so I'm literally sitting on a park bench in front of the train station, getting the oddest looks from everyone you see. You get the funniest looks from everyone you see. Yeah.
Well, Lauren, even years before the internet, you used to ride the New York subway and talk to yourself a lot. So I don't know why it's different.
Thank God for cell phones. Now people don't think I'm crazy.
Exactly.
No, we still don't think you're crazy. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Hey, Stuart, I was telling Robert, on Pirate Day, if our show lands on Pirate Day, you have to take the Fuel Travel crew and hijack this
cutting
show.
out on me.
Oh, wait, are you there? Can you still hear us? I got you good, Robert. I got you pretty good.
Yeah, no, well, Stuart's in Myrtle Beach, and they're hoping at some point to get broadband internet service there.
Yeah, the hamster's not running fast enough on the wheel.
Not running fast enough.
Yeah.
So, Stuart, I was saying to Robert that if our show lands on Pirate Day, you have to warn the Fuel Travel crew that you're gonna take over the show. You're gonna pirate the show.
We can totally do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, did you look into that hologram that I sent that link to?
You know what? I completely forgot to. Ed asked me that yesterday, and I was like, "No, I didn't." Can you repost it again?
I'll send it back over to you again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, listen, I don't mean to be rude. I was so surprised I actually had enough cell power to do this. I told Robert already. I'm on battery power and I'm on cell power in front of a train station in Amersfoort, Holland, and in Amsterdam, Netherlands. So. I'm on borrowed time, to say the least.
You're actually probably a better connection than you normally have.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking that might be the case, right? Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm worried about the data usage. Like, oh, good, he's in country. We're going to make some money this year. We're going to make budget this year.
That's funny.
Exactly.
But anyways, all right, Mr. Robert, I'm going to let you go with the other stuff. I want to make sure that YouTube is turned on public so that we're broadcasting on YouTube Open. And
so you're going to leave the show in our hands?
I know, right? God knows what it's going to be like at the end.
You're brave.
Trust is so. I trust. It's all good. It's all good. Besides, and if you really think about it, how much could you really break what's already broken? I mean,
exactly.
It's not like we're going to lose listeners.
When the bar is lying on the ground. How much lower can it get?
You can roll over the bar. It's
challenge accepted.
Well, no, I think it's more like you can trip over the bar.
Maybe.
Well, we can certainly find ways to lower things.
Yeah.
Good point on that one. Yeah. Oh well. All right. I'm going to send the link out to make sure it's on all the different platforms. Gentlemen, thank you so much for covering my happy butt for my travels. But I will say, live from Amersfoort, Netherlands. Thank you so much. And you all have a wonderful topic discussion today.
And you will be back next week?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll be back
next week for episode 200.
200, yeah. I'll be flying back on Wednesday, arriving on Wednesday. You know how that goes from Europe. So
we can do the live show in Anaheim next week. Then I can extend my flight.
Yeah, and then, but please, yeah, we expense it as a business promotional trip. Yeah, that definitely for that. And then I'll send you over the link to the hologram again because I think
Okay.
it'd be cool to have it in the booth. So,
Okay.
all right, I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so very much, and have fun.
See ya.
We will try.
All right, bye.
Bye. So you're
Oh,
lucky I'm even on the show today, Robert, because there were
Yeah.
far too many references to Airbnb. But you
yes.
you won me over because one was anti-Airbnb.
One was
and
anti-Airbnb. I threw that in intentionally for.
I appreciate
for
that
you,
very
so.
much. Yeah.
So you don't want to talk about the new Star Wars thing? I mean, Disney is just going to make.
It might make me cry,
boy.
honestly, knowing that it exists and I'm not there right now. And
Exactly.
yeah, for people that don't usually watch the show, I don't think they really appreciate how much of a Star Wars nerd I am. Like since I was a kid, it's been a fascination and an obsession that is way too unhealthy for a 42-year-old man to have an obsession with such a thing. But yeah, it was really tempting. I was very close to flying to Anaheim just for the opening, but
Well,
my wife didn't think like that was an appropriate use of our funds. So
no. Well, yeah. His wives, their priorities get all messed up.
Yeah.
They start putting like family and children and stuff, and I don't understand. So, but,
Yeah.
no, I did see the original Star Wars. Now Episode 4, but back then it was just Star Wars.
Yeah.
When it came out that weekend at the Cinerama Theater in Seattle, which is actually I think Paul Allen wound up buying it and kind of restoring it, but it was a large widescreen, just amazing, great projection quality, great sound, great sound theater. And we, skipped out of, kind of last couple periods of class in high school to go see this thing, and had no idea. We had heard about it, but we didn't know anything about it. There's no internet, right? So all you heard was, you've got to see this. Yeah, you didn't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, from the beginning, just with the text tracking into the
completely different than anything
even
you'd ever
before the starship came by.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, because it was kind of this 3D effect that no one had ever really seen. And then, I mean, mind blown from the opening credits.
And then this massive Star Destroyer comes over and just keeps going on.
And
and ever.
Exactly. It gives you the sense of scope and space, and I mean, from that, everyone was kind of slack jawed.
Yeah,
and
it
just
changed
through the
cinema
whole
forever,
thing.
for sure.
Oh yeah, it was amazing, and then it was busy. I mean, I don't recall it being sold out. There was a line. I don't know if it was really sold out. It was a big theater.
Yeah.
But it was a.
But it had legs too. I mean, it wasn't like back then. It wasn't like now where you see Avengers Endgame getting a $300 million opening weekend, and then it drops dramatically, beyond. But
this one had
movie theaters for forever. It was
for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, if not years. And then when Empire Strikes Back came out, I was actually working over the summer in Sun Valley, Idaho, which has a very small. It was called the Magic Lantern, a very, very small theater. I don't know how many seats. Imagine one of your smallest theaters in your local multiplex type thing. And so I wound up laying on the floor in the front row. Looking up, which is not a great. Yeah, the film was not designed for viewing from that angle. I
can imagine so.
Yeah, but it was still great, and all the
I was 3 years old when Empire came out, and my parents took my older brother and I to see a double billing of A New Hope and Empire, and it's the first movie I ever went to see, and I remember falling asleep. When the Yoda scene was on in Dagobah, and so some of my friends and my family still make fun of me because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, but they're like, the first time you saw the movies, you fell asleep. I'm like, I was 3 years old, and I'd already watched A New Hope. What are you guys expecting? Yeah, it's one of my earliest memories is watching Star Wars, and then we continued. Every time we'd go to my cousin's house, which we'd go probably once a month at least growing up. Every time we went, we'd watch a Star Wars movie. So that I watched them countless times for sure. So
Right. I know
I think that's where my passion came from. But it means so many things to so many people now, because you got different generations. You got people that grew up as, the prequels were their Star Wars, and now you've got the new generation with these sequels, and people that started out through the cartoons. They've had some great animated Star Wars shows over the late years. So
and now Disney owns it, and just like
it's not going to slow down. I mean, what they've done with the park is just the tip of the iceberg. Because they spent billions of dollars building these 2 parks over the last 5 years, but now they're also coming out with Disney Plus in the fall, and they're going to have between 2 and 4 dedicated Star Wars shows on that channel. It's insane. It's just
and now they own Marvel. Yeah,
well,
Marvel. They're going to have.
They got all the Fox IPs now as well.
Yeah.
It's insane, and they bought Star Wars as a franchise for $4 billion. They pretty much made that back with the first couple of movies, and they also and George Lucas or Lucasfilm, just to make the deal happen, threw in this little old IP called Indiana Jones. So they also got that as part of the bargain. Oh, and Howard the Duck as well. So which is why you've seen Howard the Duck in a couple of Marvel movies now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. All the properties that they
but
they own.
To make this a little tangible for the hotel audience that's watching,
Star Wars Hotel.
Right. Well, Disney in general are a media company, but they're really, leveraging the IPs they have across every single discipline they can, and hospitality is certainly one of those in the parks. But this concept of a Star Wars hotel is unbelievable what they're doing. I mean, it's so immersive, and that no expense spared. You don't have windows in your rooms. You have screens that look like windows that show space, so you feel like you're in a space station. And it's
but
part
just
of the
think how many
experience.
more rooms you can cram into the hotel.
Right.
In that case, you don't.
You space view. They could be interior rooms, but they're space view rooms.
Yeah, it's think of a cruise ship where you have all those lower rated, interior cabins. They kind of go, well, we've come up with something for that.
That's right. Those cabins should have screens with underwater, vistas or something going on. So
exactly. But no, the only one before Star Wars, the biggest pop culture sort of thing I can really think of that was I saw Help, the Beatles movie, with my sister, and actually. My sister, we decided to watch a second showing. And again, this is pre-cell phones and things like that. So my parents didn't know where we were. We were still in the movie theater for a second showing.
Whoops.
Oops. Yeah. Not so good.
Yeah.
Kind of got into some trouble, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, I was in the height of Beatlemania for sure. Or Beatlemania.
Oh yeah. It was Beatlemania was absolute. I haven't seen as into whoever anybody is, Taylor Swift's new album or anything like that. Nothing compared to Beatlemania. It was insane. My sister stayed on the phone with her friend for, I think it was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the local Seattle radio station. And you had to write down every Beatles song that they played in order. And I can't remember if you had to have like who the lead singer was or something like that, right? Who was singing lead on every, and I don't know, there were like 70 songs, right?
Yeah.
And they played some were repeats and things like that, I think.
And you couldn't use Shazam to
no,
know
there was
the
no
title.
Shazam. You had to write it. And so then you had to dial in at 6 p.m. and they were giving away a pair of tickets, right? Or I think it was 4 tickets, maybe something like that. And so my sister and her friend are on, and at that time it was not touch tone phones. We had a rotary phone, right? So this is 1965-ish sort of thing. So she thought out, okay, here we go. We're gonna pre-dial, because it takes a while to dial those numbers, right? You'd have to dial and then go zip and roll back. So pre-dialed all of it. When they said, okay, call now, she only had one number to dial, right? And boom, that was it. And she did it a little bit too quickly, because she dialed, it rang, and then it went dead because they cleared the lines right then, right? So she was that much early, and then she sat around for an hour or something before somebody got it, right?
Mhm.
And they just all these people calling and they're missing and they've missed song 52 or whatever.
Yeah.
And the next person calling, and it's going on for. She had every single one perfect. And
Just
my
didn't.
parents, my
Man.
parents would not spring for the $10 tickets or whatever they were, or
Mhm.
maybe less. It might have been $3.50 or something. I mean, it was just insanely low price tickets. And
Yeah.
and worst of all, my dear mother, may she rest in peace. The biggest bonehead move, my sister had two dress boxes that were these large dress boxes filled with Beatles memorabilia, right? The buttons, the the records from the fan club that you get sent, all the stuff, these two giant boxes under her bed. She goes off to college. She comes back and goes, "Hey, Mom, where'd you put my
No.
Beatles boxes?" She goes,
No.
"What? Your what? My Beatles boxes." Well, I don't know anything about them. And she goes, "No, the two dress boxes. Oh, that old stuff. I threw that away."
Oh no. That's awful.
That
That is
is
awful.
awful.
Yeah.
Yes, she had every magazines and clippings and just
Yeah.
everything.
I'd be a
Yeah,
little perturbed by that, I think.
she's scarred for life. What
Yeah.
what can I say?
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, on to other topic. Oh, actually, on the Beatles, I saw a sneak preview of the film yesterday.
Is it
Which
good?
was
I like the concept. It looks really
the
interesting.
concept was that the cynical people will hate it. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
a very sweet, lovely movie. Right,
Yeah.
that's the thing, and some people will really just incredibly dislike that and go, "Well, that could never happen." It's like,
Well,
hey, it's a movie.
it's entertainment. Yeah.
It is pure, and it was very, very good. I also saw Rocket Man last night,
Is that good?
and
That's
and
on
I'm
my
a
list to go see.
I am a
Elton John fan.
very big Elton John fan from the beginning. 11/17/70, his first live album, was like
Yeah.
my favorite, and sorely disappointed.
Oh, that's
Many people may love the movie.
Mhm.
I hated it. I
Really?
really disliked the whole thing. Yep.
And Elton John was very involved in the
Very
narrative
involved, and it's
stuff,
a
right?
movie he wanted to make, and it's
Right.
like, that's fantastic. What I don't think this is a spoiler. What drove me nuts was like the band that he was in before he became Elton John, right? When he was
Mhm.
Reg Dwight and things like that.
Mhm.
They mixed around the ordering of the songs. So he was
Yeah.
playing like Crocodile Rock or something in that. So it's like, that song wasn't written yet. That was a
Yeah,
Yellow
yeah.
Brick Road song. That was like 5 or 6 years later.
So because
And
you're
so
such a nerd about it, that bothers
it
you. But an average person's
destroyed it.
not going to care, right?
Right. I don't think so. But for me,
Yeah.
it destroyed it because they, and I can see why Elton did it, right? These songs were kind of, they fit with his life and things.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there wrestling with, wait a second, he has just done something in isolation and he's singing this song. Those lyrics are by Bernie Taupin, and Bernie wasn't involved with this thing. And that
Yeah.
and all those disconnects just killed it. It drove me. My wife loved it, right?
Yeah.
And for
she's
me,
not
it
the
was,
nerd that you are. Yeah.
it was the worst
Yeah.
sort of thing. So I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, the acting and things like that, and then and the worst part, his three mates, who, Nigel Olsson, the drummer, and Dee Murray, the bassist, and Davy Johnstone, the guitarist, have been with him since 1970, basically.
That's crazy.
To today, they're still on the. Completely not characters in the movie. I mean, there are some guys playing in the band who are the same guys, but never a name mentioned, never anything. They're just kind of generic, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, guys. They were pretty important. So anyway, so now that we've covered film and pop culture,
that's right. Should we actually talk about hotel stuff?
Nah, I don't think so. So I picked a kind of a weird top story, which isn't. I picked it for a very particular reason. It was optimizing value, what hotel developers should know. And really the reason that I picked this was this story didn't mention guests very much. if at all.
That's what I noticed about it. It was all about, expense control and things like that. And
getting investment from your city, working with the city to get tax abatements.
Right. And we've talked about this a lot on the show before. There are two types of people in the hospitality industry. There are folks that are investors, real estate developers or investors, and then there are folks that are in the hospitality industry. And unfortunately, I would love to say the industry was dominated by people in hospitality, but that isn't the truth. More and more investment money is coming from these folks that are just looking for a return. And I think that's a scary thought for the future of the industry, but it also is a huge opportunity for people that do care about the guests and do want to take care of the people that come and stay with their property. So
yeah, and that's because the focus was number one, and I think some of these are going to wind up getting into more trouble because this whole to get these large room tax abatements and things like that. True, a lot of these occupancy taxes don't wind up going into the city coffers to go spend on schools and roads and things like that. A lot of them are just for promotion of the city. Mm-hmm. But for that, the not paying taxes, not being the good corporate citizen, there's going to be kind of a little bit of a backlash push on that sort of thing. Like, are you a giver or a taker, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was always the thing with hospitality, that even from the very, very beginnings, I mean, and I'm not quite old enough to remember the Roman highways, but but my dad used to tell me about them. But I mean, on the Roman highways, hotels, these little inns were really important because they were like bastions of safety. If you were just sleeping by the side of the road, you were screwed. Whoever came by, just take your stuff, right?
Right.
So they did that, and then for all these, they were kind of the social and kind of the hub of the city for many cases. And I've always argued that, you look at the Old West, it was probably the mayor and the sheriff who are the two most important people, but I'm pretty sure the innkeeper was probably number 3 and probably had enough dirt on the mayor and the, and the sheriff to actually have probably the most of the political power. But anyway, so I think, it's kind of the antithesis of hospitality. And then they say, historical properties, you got to go work with them and things like that to see what you can do to get around the historical stuff. And and then basically on conversion, things like that. But the whole bottom line is, what is the purpose of the hotel? How does it serve the needs of the guests?
Right.
In that market, is there a need for that property?
Right.
Sort of thing. And is that the best use of that real estate? And that should maybe drive it. And how can you make it the best experience for the guests? Would probably provide you ultimately with the with the best returns.
I think we've talked a lot on the show about how we've gone through a decade plus of unprecedented growth, and we're beginning to see. We'll talk about that in the row at the end, but we're beginning to see some challenges to that, right? But it's been a solid investment. So for people that have bakoodles of money that they just need to invest somewhere with a guaranteed return and an opportunity to get out when they need to, hotels, the lodging industry has been a phenomenal prospect, but it's not going to continue to be that. And I think what's going to happen, and I talked about this last week, a lot of these types of properties that don't focus on hospitality become very heavily reliant on the third parties, on the OTAs specifically.
Right.
And when the economy turns, which it's going to turn, and it's going to turn soon, and maybe sooner than people would like, they're going to be in big trouble because they're going to have nowhere to turn to generate more demand, and they're going to end up having to cut rate. They're going to end up losing, RevPAR and GoPAR because that they won't have an option other than to drop rate, and that's or to find somebody. Yeah, who has demand, right? I mean, it's really kind of I need demand. I've got a note I've got to pay. I've got staff. I've already laid off all the staff I can. I've already cut every expense I can. I'm running as lean as I can. I'm wafer thin in terms of operating profit right now, and there's nowhere to create new demand, and it's very dangerous. That's why now everyone, regardless if you're a real estate investment property or a hospitality property, you need to be doing everything you can right now, even if it costs you profit in the short term, to reduce your reliance on third parties. That should be your number one initiative right now. Because if you don't, you are going to be in an existential crisis come the downturn of the economy. You will have nowhere to turn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think the bottom line is, well, the poster child I had for the global financial crisis, I think, was the Hyatt Regency Dearborn, which was, I think it's across from like the Southfield Mall or something in Dearborn, Michigan, really close to Ford's headquarters and things like that. And it's a 700 or 800 room classic atrium Hyatt Regency property, right? Mm-hmm. And I was there, I think, for my daughter's dance convention or something like that. And I think it was 2009. Yeah, 2009ish, something like that. And this hotel had, it was just cut down to the minimum. There no door staff, no concierge. They did have the cafe, which was kind of used to be the 24-hour restaurant. It was cut down to minimal hours. I don't even know if it was open between lunch or between breakfast and lunch and dinner, right? There's absolutely spare service. The revolving restaurant on the roof had been, quote, converted to meeting space, which means, it was closed sort of thing. And just everything, the plants, everything had been cut down to the minimum. And I happened to run into the general manager and I was asking about it. I go, yeah, it must be tough. He goes, you have no idea. I go, yeah, take dance conventions in, because the rate, very, very low rate, right? Over a weekend. He goes, hey, we are living and dying by these dance conventions. We run structurally 11% occupancy if we don't have these. Yeah, and I was just like, oh man. And he said, yeah, next week's worse because we have junior hockey teams. And I mean, kind of, testosterone fueled kids with sticks and pucks is not the best thing for the FF&E and maintaining,
pickup game breaks out in the lobby. Yeah, I can see the problems.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's just horrible. So I said, well, why don't they? You go, oh no, the thing went into foreclosure, whatever, 9 months ago, but the developer, things are so bad, if they close the doors, the value goes to zero. At least if it's operating, then they have a chance of maybe getting, they're trying to sell it for $4 million, but they probably can't, right?
Yeah.
So just absolutely upside down, underwater.
When was this? What year was this?
2009 or 2010 or whatever. I mean, just
right around when it bottomed out. Yeah, it's...
And now it never came back to be a Hyatt. I think it's now like the Edward Hotel or something like that.
Right. And probably doing fine because they've, the economy's been strong for the last decade. But
yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, it is in Dearborn, Michigan, and Michigan's had its troubles and things like that. But actually, here's the. I just looked it up on Wikipedia. It was built in 1976, right? And it was right there. Oh, the Fairlane Mall. That was it. Built by Ford's Land Development Company. They had a people mover, which was part of the Ford company. I think all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But then it was renamed the Adoba Hotel, Dearborn, Detroit, on November 1st, 2012. Then
we actually used to work with them as an Adobe, actually.
Really? Then the Royal Dearborn Hotel and Convention Center in 2015. So 3 years later, it became something else. And most recently, the Edward Village, Michigan Hotel. Yeah. So, new information. On December 14th, 2018, the hotel was deemed to be unfit for human occupancy by the city of Dearborn and closed due to fire code violations and lack of necessary permits. So it
didn't survive.
Did not survive. And
that was in an up economy. And if you listening to this want that to be your property, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you don't, start investing. Do not defer maintenance. Do not cut costs on those things. And prepare for the eventuality. Like if you saw a 20% reduction in demand tomorrow, which is very realistic in a down economy.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you do? In saying I'm going to slash my marketing budget or slash my overhead or whatever it is, is not the answer. So you've got to come up with, how do I survive in that scenario? One of the ways you can do that is reducing OTA reliance now, so that when you need to turn that faucet on, you have that as an option.
Yeah, you aren't going from whatever 40% of your business to 80% or something like.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is, I had a interesting kind of email conversation with Max Starkov. And Max is great. Has been on the show. Always has opinions, which are great.
He does.
Agree with him or disagree. And and vast majority of the time,
he's usually right.
I agree with Max. Yeah. Not as right as Seth is coming by to weigh in on this, I believe. So,
wait, Seth,
nope, he's
Seth
not.
Godin or your cat?
Seth, my cat. Seth
Okay.
is also an expert on hotel branding and OTA, direct booking reliance. Yeah, so
nice.
He handles all the client meetings for me. It's been such a tremendous help. So
he's much better at conversation than you, right? So it probably makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and he does this thing where he rubs up across, along their leg and purrs. And when I've tried that, it does not work well at all. I don't know.
I can imagine. I
don't know how he does it. It does it great. People love it, but with me, no, not so much.
What are you doing, Robert? Get off.
I go, wait, no, that's not how you establish friendship. I'm sorry, just trying to figure this out. But anyway, no, Max had sent a little note, basically saying, on the hotel brands becoming relevant again and things like that. Basically, he said, hey, these brands are taking off, right? Because look at what they're doing with, Marriott and Hilton have gotten their OTA commissions down the 10 to 12% level or something like that. And you're looking at the Reliance, they're down, well, it's 10 to 12% commission and 10 to 12% of their volume, right? So, they aren't as reliant on OTAs, which is great.
Right.
But the challenge really becomes, that's right. But then you have this franchise fee, right? Which is about, according to HVS, about 11% of your total room revenue. So that's on every booking, regardless of where it came from. So my response back to him was kind of like, it's good, but I don't think you should say jump on a brand, become a soft brand. He said, Autograph is looking to add 1,000, soft branded properties, right? There's going to be huge growth in those areas. But at the same time, I kind of look at it and go, whoa, hang on. There are a couple things you have to look at. Here's this, all of a sudden you've added, 11% across every booking sort of thing. So, if you're 80% OTA, well, certainly that maybe makes sense. But you've also got to look at, well, what kind of ADR lift are you going to get? What kind of occupancy lift? I mean, are both of those going to be positive, hopefully?
Sure.
And how many basis points are they going to knock out of your reliance on OTAs? If it doesn't really go down, all of a sudden you've just lumped on, which I don't think is necessarily the case, but you don't want to just lump on an incremental 11%. That does not work. So, I think every hotel has to really look at that very, very seriously to figure it out, because, and that 11% by HVS isn't just year one. That is over the first 10 years of that relationship. Yeah. So you're signing up for a pretty big commitment. And if things turn down, is Marriott's a great company. If you're one of their properties in New York where there are 99 other competitors to you, are they really feeding enough volume, or giving you enough brand lift with the brand name or whatever that case may be, to really, justify that, whatever it is, 11% or whatever you're paying out? Will you have enough to be fed in a downturn? And that's going to be a challenge for these brands.
It is, yeah. So, and, I think I understand why a lot of people jump to the brand, especially if you're not, used to the industry. If you're a developer coming in, a lot of times financing's not going to happen unless you're
absolutely
with a flag, right? The banks just won't release the funding. So, I absolutely get it. But the reality is, I think people don't understand how if it's well run, if you're in the hospitality business, an independent property can do can kick the butts of the flags in terms of
Absolutely.
creating their own demand and standing out and being unique. Now, certainly you have to adopt some of the processes that the brands have related to brand standards and things like that. You have to be
Right.
disciplined and make sure you're not deferring maintenance and things like that. But
Right.
I mean, we primarily, almost exclusively now work with independents, and we've got a lot in very competitive destinations that, they appear higher in search than the brands. They get better occupancy than the brands. They can demand a higher ADR than the brands, and their operating cost is less because they're not giving away this 11-12% off the top, and they're equally as low in terms of reliance on OTAs. And a lot of our properties are around 10% ish. Some are around 20, but you can certainly operate if you have the funding up front. You can operate as an independent, and you're probably a little more insulated from when the downturn does happen. Because to your point, Robert, when Marriott has 99 properties in New York, they really don't care which property is getting the booking, and you're going to get your share of however much demand there is. So when demand drops, these other 99 or other 98 are going to be fighting for that demand with you. You're better off sometimes standing on your own and creating your own demand.
Well, and that's the same thing the hotel companies are grousing at the OTAs about, right? They don't care who gets the booking as long as it happens, right? And you kind of go, these large brands are starting to look OTA-ish, right? Because they don't owner manage things. They're distribution channels and branding
They don't even care.
platforms.
Not only do they not care what property people stay at, they don't care what destination people stay at. Both the brands and the OTAs. And that's why you see them, you go to a property or a destination page and they're promoting other destinations on it. It's insane. You can't, there's not a hotel or a destination in the world that can say because of Expedia or because of Booking.com, more people are visiting this destination. Now, have they encouraged people to travel? Sure, probably, but it's not necessarily helping your destination or your property. So you gotta wean yourself off now while you can, because a couple of years from now, if the economy is bad, you will not be able to wean yourself off of it then.
Right. And the key is that you want demand for your individual property because people know you and love you, and you run a great operation, and your pricing makes sense. It's a good value. You didn't gouge them and get perceived as exceedingly expensive during great times.
They felt like they had a lot of value. They enjoyed the relationship with the staff members, that you were leveraging tools like Flip2 to have them become advocates and tell all their friends about you. So doing all the things you can do as an independent that you can't really do as well as
and in many cases, they don't call them chains for no reason because you do. All of a sudden, no, you can't have your own property website, which I've always thought has been so incredibly short-sighted from a purely an SEO perspective. You go, my God. If you get 7,000 hotels with their own URLs all pointing
back to the mothership,
back to the mother, that's a big plus.
Yeah. I think it's just because I understand why someone in the marketing team would want to make that decision. I get the benefits of it, but I think if you really thought through long term, the net negative versus the positive, I don't think any right-minded person would make that decision, other than to say, this makes my life a lot easier. It makes my life easier and maintains or protects the brand, right? Which, I think IHG actually does a good job of that in terms of how they have checklists and they go through a review process. So when you do build a third-party website, they say, okay, as long as you follow these rules and we get to tell you all the things you did wrong and you fix it, we're fine with it.
That's right.
But we had a property, it was a Hampton Inn, so a Hilton property that was actually ranked in the top 3 in TripAdvisor for its destination, very competitive destination. And it generated the majority of its bookings through its independent vanity website. And the minority was coming through the Hilton main site. And when Hilton took that away from them, I mean, they have seen massive decrease in occupancy, in the rate they can demand, and they've dropped off the planet on TripAdvisor as well. And
Right.
it wasn't that the quality of the product dropped; it was just visibility of the product dropped.
Right.
Because there's a lot of other Hilton brands in that market already. So
Right.
they just, it's really frustrating.
Well,
to
and
the
that's
point that they're considering wanting to switch to another flag, but they're
right.
locked in, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem, and that it's all that lock-in, because yes, if Hilton controls everything, they've got all the data, they've got everything, and you can't just, if you have your own independent vanity website, you can theoretically keep that and then rechannel it to to whoever the new partner is, and the brands all know that. And I've had some experience on some cutovers where some of the major brands do some pretty ugly things when on these cutovers, where all of a sudden all those transient reservations, we are going to notify everyone that you are no longer a whatever, and here are alternate properties on that you can go to, and all of a sudden 40% of the incoming traffic evaporates.
Yep.
Right. And
sure.
Part of me goes, well, that's maybe okay, because the brand's going, did these people buy it because of the flag, or what was the reason? But the brand's not differentiating on that. It's just like, we're sending this to everybody we know of to let them know, because it's joint ownership of that data, basically, right? So
right.
and it can get contentious and ugly, and even in the nice partings, that sort of stuff still kind of happens, more than the owners would like. So it's a tough, and I'm not saying the brands are evil, but they're performing in their best interest, which isn't necessarily the best interest of the hotel.
They have shareholders to answer to. They're doing exactly what they can. That's why they have as many different black brands as they do, so they can have more properties in every location. I mean, that's,
well, they do, and they have to grow, and not. We'll talk about it in the rut row, but if you aren't getting organic growth of greater traffic, higher occupancies, higher ADRs, all that stuff growing like crazy, what are they doing? All they can do is add properties. Well, building properties takes a long time, and all of a sudden you start getting saturated, where you go, we got 11 brands and we can't get 90 properties, but hey, with 30 brands we can, sort of thing. So that's I think the game that winds up getting played. So anyway, well,
but if you are flagging, you're thinking about deflagging and becoming independent, I think anyone that's on this show normally could, whether it's Lauren or Tim or Robert or me or Ed, could give you advice on that, because it's definitely an option. You don't have to have a flag in the economy as it stands. I think it'll be harder to make that switch once the economy turns, but right now is a good time to be looking at dropping a flag.
Trying to get financing on your hotel in a downturn without a flag and things like that. You better have your story together. Have a really compelling story, and have it together really pretty well, because otherwise you're just gonna get laughed at. So
for sure.
But we've been hammering on brands a little bit, but the next article was kind of inside Hilton's marketing strategy, which I've on the record as being a fanboy of Kellen Smith Kenny, who's the CMO of Hilton, former Uber, former Capital One. She has done a phenomenal job since coming on. Just over. Boy, she hasn't really been there that long. We're really just maybe 15 months or so.
Yeah.
But I think she really nailed it on. Her point was, what do they need to do? Strong consumer design targets, brand positioning, brand architecture. They just have to figure out how they keep their brand. How she says, ensuring each brand is meeting a unique consumer need and therefore stays within its swim lane. And that just epitomizes what Hilton is kind of doing. It's like rational brands. We want our brands to be rationalized, because
with clear differentiation, unlike Marriott, which when they took over Starwood, there's a lot there that you're like, I can't tell the difference between these two brands.
And Marriott, quite frankly, can't either, because here's the test, and to be very clear, Marriott isn't stupid. They're sitting there going, wait a second, we will be penalized aggressively by Wall Street if we come in and start figuring
if we
out.
consolidate brands.
We go, hey, Renaissance and Weston, maybe
Mhm.
those should go together. That would probably, I think most people could argue,
Yeah,
that might make a lot of sense.
right.
But all of a sudden, there's probably a city where there's a nice big Renaissance sitting right across the street from the Westin, like in New York,
Yeah.
or something like that in Times Square. And Marriott doesn't want to go, oh, we got to pick one.
Yeah.
And where does the other one go? We don't really have a great fit for you. That's not
I
tolerable
understand the
for the
situation
investment,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah, so
But
they
Hilton
got to
tries to
keep them.
avoid that, and I think they do a smart job of it. What was interesting to me is listening or reading the article and how they approach. They have kind of an overarching brand strategy, and then they have each individual property type has its own approach as well. But they kind of run them in parallel. So they're always establishing Hilton as what that stands for, what that family represents, which is good.
Right.
And the other thing that was interesting that stood out was the question was posed, do you each brand has its own, marketing strategy and approach and target audience and messaging and all that, but how does that vary geographically, across the world? And she answered it and said it really doesn't. What their data suggests is that the type of consumer, regardless of the geography, is very similar. So they tend to have a universal strategy for each of the individual brands, which was interesting to me.
Yeah, which is good for brand consistency. So especially as the world, globalizes, you don't have, Best Western ran into that, right? And in Europe, Best Westerns are pretty nice, 3-star, some 4-star, and then in the US, all of a sudden you had kind of these 1 and 2-star, and they had some nice 3 and 4-star, and now Best Westerns tried to resolve that with Plus and some of their breaking out their brands and things like that. But that was a problem where, you wind up with, Regent did that. They had these great luxury hotels in Asia, and their first forays in the US were like into resorts and kind of really different, not the same sort of product at all, which didn't make any sense. But
Right. No, I really admire them for being strong on that, because I can get where it's easy to make the argument that geographically people differ and culturally people differ, but for them to have the backbone to say no, this is the brand and we're going to stay true to it regardless of the geography. I think that's a really smart play, and I wish more brands did that for sure. Yeah,
and I think they're succeeding, and I think we had an article before. Hilton has the biggest market cap now, I think, of any major hotel group, right?
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, kudos to them for doing a good job. And they aren't the biggest, but they're the most valuable, which I'll take that.
Yeah, that works for me.
Those numbers
with
add
about
up pretty
half
well.
the number of separate brands that Marriott has. So
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What other articles were of interest?
Well, let's talk about my bugaboo. Let's talk about Airbnb a little bit, because there's a lot going on there. Right?
Yes, there is.
So hot on the heels of them of Booking.com beginning to charge resort fees. Airbnb is now going straight at the jugular by charging a flat commission of 14% to folks, instead of what had typically been happening is they would charge the property a small percentage, and then they charge the consumer
3 to 5%
to the hotel, and then 20% to the consumer, which obviously creates a massive parity issue in terms of whether or not your property is going to get booked on that channel or not. So they're coming out with a very smart decision, I think, in terms of the number at 14%, because they know that most people at best, unless you're a Hilton or a Marriott, are paying probably 15 to 20, or even in some cases 25% to Booking.com and Expedia. So 14% is just a little bit of a, hey, we're a little bit better than these guys, and I think it's an attractive value proposition for hotels. And that coupled with the fact that they're beginning to show partners from their Hotel Tonight acquisition on Airbnb and leveraging those relationships. If you don't think Airbnb is becoming an OTA, then your head is in the clouds, because that's exactly what the play is. They're not
Yeah.
this. They're not. Look at the way their verbiage is changing. When they talk about what their product is, it's changed. It used to be, talking about staying in people's homes, and the nomenclature was different. And then it went to
Right.
boutique hotels. Now they're just flat out saying hotels. Like, they're not really saying, hey, you need to be a specialty hotel, or you need to have something that differentiates you or makes you unique. They're flat out saying, if you're a hotel, we want your inventory on our platform. We are an OTA, and they're embracing it. So it's a shift.
And
it's a big shift.
Yeah, and their mantra has really, been, I mean, ever since Chip Conley put in the, belong anywhere kind of ethos with them, that's what they've been doing, right? It's been completely kind of basically traveler and host focused, right? And for the hosts, it used to be when the host was present, that was really important. But that's only probably, I don't know if that's 5% of their business now, right?
Yeah,
that's very, very small.
Yeah, very small.
But with that, they're trying to figure out how do they make great, authentic, local experiences for travelers, which is kind of the entire purpose of hospitality. Right. that is the business. And I'll tell you, my daughter and her husband, they are Airbnb first travelers. That will change.
Now they
are. If and when they have children,
Mm-hmm.
I think they will wind up probably selecting on their own, not to go stay in somebody's place where it's their stuff that can get broken or destroyed or something like that. Right. But or even from it's not a child safe place. Right. Now, again, I think Airbnb will probably, my guess, I haven't seen this yet, they will be very smart and start saying this is a child safe apartment or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, or have people, start segmenting. This is a really family friendly or good for small kids. But again, they have the whole vacation rental end where you go, people love vacation rentals and they can cook in their kitchens and things like that. Right. And so that I think Airbnb, if Airbnb is smart, they get them to pivot from kind of Airbnb to booking a vacation rental through Airbnb.
Yeah,
right?
It's a threat to like VRBO and HomeAway and stuff like that, which that type of inventory has existed forever. It's Airbnb is becoming a distribution channel, which is fine. And we'll talk about the other article in a second about some of the damage that Airbnb's done in terms of city accommodations, but they can't scale. They can't continue the trajectory of growth by being who they were. The only way they can grow is to become a full-fledged OTA, non-discriminatory, any accommodation. And that, that's going to be a challenging pivot for them, because what people expect from Airbnb has always been, something unique, something that's, more like a traditional house, or at least has kitchen facilities, more like vacation rentals. And we're going to see a lot of inventory that doesn't look like that. So, it could fail miserably. It's possible it could fail miserably. And if the hotel industry
I don't think it will.
Propping them up,
Yeah, I don't think it'll. They just have very, very smart management and very, very smart investors. So I don't think it'll fail miserably. But I've never thought they would kill the hotel industry. My point has always been, hotel industry, look at what these guys are doing, because they are carving out a piece of the pie and getting people to love them. Right? Yeah. It's that whole, and I certainly understood. Yeah. I'll stay in an Airbnb because it's 30% less. That's pretty easy.
That's a value proposition there, and I don't,
absolutely.
Yes, people love it, but people can turn on a dime on a brand.
You bet.
What's happened to Uber over the last 4 or 5 years? But I think, for me, Airbnb has been glorified by the hotel industry as this massive disruptor, and I've never really seen it that way. I think it's leveraging a piece of the economy that's always existed, in terms of vacation rentals. And I think a lot of hotels have gotten distracted by Airbnb versus focusing on what they've tried to become more like an Airbnb. And I don't think that's the answer at all, because there's a much different value proposition that a hotel represents. And to me, it's a lot less friction in a hotel than there is in an Airbnb. You don't have to deal with the host and all that nonsense, and the fees are very clear. And I don't know.
Yeah.
The user interface is great on Airbnb, but the actual experience can be fraught with a lot of friction. How do you get the keys and things like that, and who the host is and where they are, and especially
and
if you're sharing a home.
simplified a lot. Yeah, they've simplified a lot of that stuff, but still,
They've had to, right? Because it caused problems.
Well, and vacation rentals were like that too, right? Because it was always out. The hotels used to go, "Oh, don't stay there because you don't know what's going on. It's inconsistent. Right. You don't know how to get the keys." And it's like, well, yeah, a lot of vacation rental companies and management companies figured out, here are things we can do to fix this.
Right, you can put on code blocks and things like that for sure. But I still think things like inconsistency, to me at my point in life, is if I was going on a vacation with just the wife, I think it would be fine. I'd prefer not to book with Airbnb, our principal. But I think if I'm traveling with my family, there's very little chance I'm going to stay in an Airbnb, and a lot of that's to do with security and safety concerns, but it's also to do with the quality of the product, and the inconsistencies with that as well.
Yeah.
There's not a brand standard for Airbnb like there is with a Marriott. I know what I'm getting if I go stay at a Spring Hill or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. And there's a very good positive to that. And then there's the negative of, but it's just this kind of generic, I can get that anywhere, and I'm staying here, and I want something that's cool and different. Right. But again, there's room for both of those.
There is.
Right.
Sure.
It was always why, you used to go, the highest rated hotel in Paris, I think, used to be the Paris Hilton. And this was pre-Paris Hilton being a famous celebrity. So yeah, it was like the Paris Marriott and the Paris Hilton. Those were like super high, because you had all these Americans coming in knowing not where to stay, and they're like, I'll stay at that. What's the price? Okay, I don't really understand these francs or euros or whatever those things are, so that's great, and it's safe. And I know I reach out in the middle of the night and reach to the right, there's a night table with an alarm clock there, perfect sort of thing. So but I think
what happened to Paris Hilton? I haven't heard from her in a long time.
I don't know.
She fell off the face of the earth.
She did, but maybe she's, I don't know, maybe she's just figuring out how much her Hilton stock is worth, going, go Kellen. Okay, so there are a couple other things which I thought were very interesting. We mentioned the Hotel Tonight thing and talked about that before. I think this was way under the radar. Airbnb signing a Shiji distribution deal to bolster their China hotel strategy. Wow, Shiji. If people aren't familiar with it, need to pay attention to Shiji. Shiji's management were the former Micros Fidelio folks who are really responsible for China. Their financial backing is Taobao and Alibaba. So they have very, very
pretty big pockets there. Yeah.
Very strong investment bankers, and they have been investing into the hospitality industry tech stack for a while. So they started off, they acquired Hetris, which is a property management system company, in 2016. I'm not sure what eFuture Information Technology was. They acquired that. I'm not sure that is. They acquired Review Pro in 2017, Snapshot Business Intelligence Group in 2018, Stay in Touch, another PMS in 2018.
Which that's an interesting one, because they've really taken a lot of Opera clients over, because that Stay in Touch was the PMS that spun out. It was developers that built a web-based front end for the Opera PMS before Opera really offered a web-based PMS. And a lot of people were using it in they spun off their own company, and they got some good traction there. They've gone a little quiet since the Shiji bought them out. They've gone a little quiet because they were very much everywhere before that.
But again, Shiji has a lot of hotels that they're working with, and and they certainly understand Opera and everything like that from their heritage. They bought Ice Portal earlier this year. And then MyCheck, I'm not sure what MyCheck is. I'll have to look at that. It might be a financial settlement thing. Let me take a quick look on here. Mobile application enables users to split and pay bills for goods and services through their mobile devices. So a Tel Aviv-based kind of financial settlement type thing. So they are building some very, very interesting aspects of the hospitality tech stack, have amazing backing and deep hotel industry tech expertise.
Yeah. The
Watch
part I
out.
don't know is, and there's a lot of folks in this space. Jonas has done something similar
Yep.
in North America in terms of mopping up PMS companies, and
Yeah.
they bought
But a lot of those are
Leonardo
kind
and
of
other stuff.
older. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
they are.
yeah.
But they got like Springer Miller and MSI, and
Right.
they're trying to do some things. But when I see those companies, and I don't know if Shiji's different, but there's not always a cohesive overarching strategy. They're buying them as a in Jones' case, they're buying them to to continue to operate and generate profits.
Continuation of maintenance
necessarily
fees and things like that.
right,
Yeah.
and maybe cross promote and share databases and things like that. But they're not really saying, okay, all these assets together, what's our brand, our strategy to take over the world? I think it could be a little different with Shiji, with the leadership there.
Yeah.
I feel like they are really trying to put together puzzle pieces into some cohesive strategy. I don't know what that is yet, other than world domination, but they really are trying to create a complete vertical tech stack for the hospitality industry, which is good and bad, right? I think some people are going to be wary of that. Some people want one solution, but it's interesting that they're going in that direction. At the same time, I feel like the industry at large is going in the opposite direction, which is open source, connect to anyone, trying to create some kind of centralized data bus that communicates with all your different providers. So it's interesting, but
well,
I wouldn't bet against Shiji for sure at this point.
No, I certainly would. Oh, they also invested in Calibri, right? So Cindy Estes Green's company, and some of the stats. This is out of a Skift article from last fall. Shiji is responsible for 60% market share for enterprise software services among upscale and international hotels and luxury retailers in China. So they've got 60% market share, and that's a lot of big hotels. So they've got 13,000 Chinese hotels using Shiji network systems right now, including a lot of the global brands in there.
Yeah.
And then outside of China, they now have 47,000 properties using some sort of product or service. So you've got the Review Pros and the Stay in Touches and things like that. And they've got 100,000 hotels connected to their inventory distribution system, I guess. So they've got a lot of stuff, and I think they do have a strategy. So,
and they're not done. I think you'll see probably more acquisitions here in the next year.
Well,
you always see a spurt of those after following high tech. Because every tech company in the industry gets bombarded prior to high tech with investment companies saying, "Hey, let me come by your booth. I want to talk." So
exactly,
we have a ton of those, and I'm sure everyone does. Shiji's one of those that'll probably be there aggressively looking for acquisitions at high tech.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and they're also saying that they're basically estimating they're going to generate 481 million in revenue they generated 481 million in 2018, and that puts them second to Oracle, which was doing about 1.8 billion in revenue in 2017, right? So interesting, kind of. They're real, they're big, and I think they do have a strategy for how they know how this stuff works, and I think they're just kind of plucking together the pieces. So
so the Airbnb piece is it's probably a win-win there. It's a good partnership, I think.
I think so, because again China is huge, and when you really start looking at all the stuff they have with some other things they have. Infosys is a food and beverage technology. Concept is leisure and entertainment systems. They've got payment solutions and distribution solutions, which are just branded Shiji. And they also bought Horwath HTL, so the consulting thing. Used to be way back Leventhal and Horwath. So they've got a consulting group, Review Pro. They're putting together a very, very interesting combination of services and business intelligence and platforms, and
really going to go head on with Oracle Hospitality. I mean,
oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, where Oracle's missing a lot of, really, it's the domain expertise. And not that the Oracle guys don't know the domain, but when you start really looking at it from, the depth of like the Review Pro guys, right, and kind of what they understand, and what's going on. Calibri's understanding what's up.
Deep,
stay in touch.
Knowledge.
Really deep domain expertise in those sub verticals. So they're pay attention, folks.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go talk, because a lot of these folks still have standalone presences, and I know some of them at some of these companies that have not had the conversation yet. But I want to really understand with folks like stay in touch what's changed operationally on a day-to-day basis since the takeover, and how much
have they
are they really
messed with it?
how much are they really interfacing with these other companies, these other subsidiaries. So
no, that's
definitely something to keep an eye on for sure.
The thing we left off though was Murray Cox, the guy who is kind of the hero, nemesis. Man. The nemesis of Airbnb. And I have said since day one of Airbnb, AHLA totally messed up with the kill it with fire, make people sympathetic to the plight of these hotels, right?
Stupid.
Because you're like, we just talked about all the real estate orientation, getting tax abatements, all that sort of take, approach. Right. It's like, defend affordable housing. This is like the most obvious pitch. And that's and this guy, Murray Cox, is an affordable housing advocate, God love him, who's trying to tell people, look at what Airbnb is doing to destroy this stuff, as well as in many cases not pay hotel taxes and do all these things, which now they're happy to do. And I put part of it on, again, Airbnb kind of being opportunistic. It's like, hey, if the city's not going to make us pay the taxes, it's not like we're going to go voluntarily pay it. That would be stupid. Our investors would not like us to do that.
Right. So this is on the cities. The cities allowed this mess to happen, and they should have reacted quicker. But there's no domain expertise at the city level to really understand this technology and how quickly it can disrupt something like this. But now, I mean, Airbnb has been disruptive for how long? Cities should have gotten
it's their 10th anniversary. They've been around for 10 years.
So
and this guy has been going home at night from his day job, basically screen scraping their site in various cities. And it's amazing. In the article, they go, one city pays him $200 to do this. And you're like, oh my God. That's not enough money. This is an important thing to protect affordable housing and a predator.
And that's what he said. He does it because he's an activist, right? He wants to protect affordable housing. You know what's really funny when you read the article, and he said he was because they've tried to defend again or deflect some of his claims over the years through press releases, and finally they're trying to open up a dialogue, and they invited him to go meet them at a Manhattan location, and
which is his office, which is their office.
He shares an office with them. It's really funny.
In the same building.
So
but again, he's sitting there basically going, hey guys, New York has a law that says you can't rent out whole units for less than 30 days, which is one of the things that you can do to defend this, or you become like a little mini hotel. But boy, when you do that, you better talk to your co-op board or landlord or whoever who's probably going to want either a cut of it or to say you can't or something like that. Let's get this thing out of the back alleys and into kind of the light of day. And that's kind of what he's doing. And the cities should be doing this stuff themselves, not relying on this poor one guy to go do it. It's like, let's formalize this, look at it, and then maybe require Airbnb to publish this. And when Airbnb claims, oh, it's too difficult and that's so hard, that's complete bullshit. It's the same as it's the same problem the cities have still with the online travel agencies, where the room tax is only based on the revenue that goes to the hotel, because that's who pays it, not on what the consumer pays. And all of a sudden, the OTAs get a couple percentage points of gratuity, basically, from the cities, because they don't have to pay the room tax. They're charging $150 a night, but the room tax is only getting paid off of 100 or 120 or whatever the underlying number is, and that the difference of that room tax is pocketed by the OTAs. And that's it. And again, and I'll say it, the idiots, and now they have new leadership at AHLA who I have not spoken with, but the former leadership who were just kind of, classic lobbyists, right?
Mhm.
Not having deep domain expertise, just absolutely blew it as a disservice to the industry. I mean, just, fighting the wrong battle with the wrong messaging, going, hey, cities, why are you doing this? There's money here. And, the traveler is paying the same amount anyway.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It has absolutely zero impact on the cost. It does not make the cost to the traveler go up. So why would you allow this to happen?
And if those new folks are watching and they need consulting services, Robert Cole is available, right? If they need deep domain knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah, that is my calling card, deep domain. But it's the same thing as the resort fees, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just come on. And several years ago, pre-Trump administration, who did put somewhat of damper on federal regulations through the Federal Trade Commission, and the state attorney generals are still out there. But I was doing some kind of pro bono work with a friend of mine who's kind of on the fight the resort fees thing. But there was a conference call with 26 state attorneys general, right? And not necessarily that, but at least someone on their staff, right? A 90-minute conference call going through examples of, hey, here's what's happening with these resort fees. Here's what they're being called. Here are the ramifications of it. Here's the impact on consumers. Here's how it undermines competitive shopping, and the regulations that are in there now don't go far enough because it's still this kind of bait and switch type, or not bait and switch, but kind of this, drip pricing, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it. And these guys stayed on for 90 minutes. I mean, there was no drop off sort of thing.
Yeah.
And all I can say, I spent a year in the rental car industry, and I had the pleasure of participating in a conference call with 49 states attorneys generals who said, hey guys, we're scratching our heads because we see this rental car rate of $20 a day, and the total bill for 3 days comes up to $120, and we just don't understand how that math works. Mm-hmm. And you can fix it, or we will fix it for you and make sure you abide. What do you think? and the rental car companies, where there were a lot more back then, went, message received.
Yeah,
we will get to work on this.
We'll get it done.
And we were actually doing work anyway. I mean, but as a Budget Rent-A-Car, we were killing it because we had built an app server that did, what do you know? It showed all the car types on one page with little visuals of kind of like example cars, with the total price for that rental, of the dates of everything that was included. If it was a one-way, it included the drop charge and things like all the taxes.
Transparent pricing.
What do you know? And the conversion just hockey stick, guys. I mean, it was like night and day, right? Yeah. I mean, just absolutely crazy. Why wouldn't you show that? And you go, hey, hoteliers, you could do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. The no bullshit pricing. Here are our rooms. Here's kind of the differences between them. Here's the total price. What do you think? And they look at it and go, hey, we can get the deluxe city view for only $20 more a night. That's great. Yeah. Let's do it. In our 5-night stay, we're paying an extra $120. Perfect. And with that, it comes with breakfast, and we got used to the health club and all this stuff, and not this negative, here's a mandatory fee for a bunch of crap that you may not use. It just makes no sense, right? It's mandatory. Yeah. So anyway, I'll get down off of before I descend my soapbox, anyone who says resort fees are like the airlines bundle, the whole thing with luggage and stuff. No, it is the opposite. Those are optional services, which people didn't like having, broken out. But the resort fee is the opposite. It's like you're going to pay for luggage and your advanced seat and all this stuff in advance, even though you're not checking bags, right? So it's the absolute antithesis. So I respectfully descend from my soapbox. But anyway, so Airbnb, we'll see. But I predict they're going to have a very I would predict they have a very successful IPO when it happens. Now, depending on how crazy the bankers get and how much, they get it hyped up to get a huge opening on it. But I bet these guys are going to be smart enough, especially after looking at Uber and Lyft, to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's, investors, let's get together. Let's make sure we do really well. But in the aftermarket, let's make sure that this thing kind of keeps going and not just, dump all the shares quick to make the, to make the profit on it.
I'll tell you why I think their IPO is going to be great. And it primarily is because their PR has been almost spot on. They've had some challenges, especially safety, security. There was one recently that came up where, hidden cameras in rooms and things like that, right?
Yep.
And yet the mainstream media is not picking up on any of this, and it's unusual because typically any kind of sensational nonsense that sounds way worse than it is, the media is all over it. And yet really you could see where the big media companies would have jumped on and sensationalized and made a big firestorm out of this, and yet they haven't. So kudos to Airbnb's PR team for whatever they're doing. They're doing a good job.
I think they are very, very proactive and responsive with a lot of this stuff. It isn't just reaction having the wrong. They do the classic. Now they've got the formula down. They acknowledge that a problem exists. They apologize for it. They state what they're doing about it, and then they try to overcompensate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is just, crisis management 101. If you do those 4 things, it still may be really, really bad. Right. But guess what? You aren't going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Sure. Try to go, try to do the right thing. So anyway, we want to talk about, I think, why don't we stick in China for a little? I thought Ctrip's Instagram platform is pretty freaking amazing.
It's a shame that Ed's not on the show, because I was going to tell him that Ctrip's basically ripping off Flip2, because that's essentially what
that is doing. Exactly why I did that.
Yeah. So I think Ed should sue Ctrip. That's my opinion.
I think so too. Yeah.
So essentially, what they're doing is prompting and asking consumers who travel to share a photo and some comments about their trip, and then socializing that and making it shareable and all that. But instead of doing it on existing platforms, they're kind of doing it in their proprietary environment. But it's pretty smart. They're building a social network at the same time as promoting their product and turning guests or travelers into advocates. So,
which is exactly what TripAdvisor at one point of their pivot way back kind of was I really thought they were going to do.
I did too.
When they hired people like Wendy Perrin to become their their traveler advocate and things like that, I thought, oh, this is really, really smart, where they can have all the crowdsourced stuff, but then they can again get these people with domain expertise talking about here's what you can do that's really great, and how do you share this stuff with especially they were one of the first they were a launch partner with Facebook on the single sign-in platform.
They were. And did you see? There's a graph. I forget where I've seen it, but there's a graph of the day they switched that on, the single sign-in, and how the number of reviews went up significantly the day that they did that, because people reduced friction. You didn't have to create an account. You already had it. Right. You just click.
Yep. And then I thought all the sharing of tagging it back, but they never did that part, which was weird.
Because they started chasing profitability, and it wasn't. That's not a short-term profit driver. That's a long-term growth strategy, which would have been the right strategy. But when you're beholden to your shareholders and Wall Street, it makes you do dumb stuff, and that's why TripAdvisor's in the mess that it's in now.
Well, and I directly asked Steve Kaufer. I had lunch with him right after that happened. I said, look, I know you probably won't tell me the answer, but I've got to ask. I go, how much did that clean up your email list? Because they were so clever about it, because I was on TripAdvisor and I was using my typical junk Gmail campaign or Gmail account, right? Yeah. Which I use for all the hotel, all the travel reward programs. I have them bucketed into this Gmail. It's not my normal email address, right? Which is the one that I see it is back in a separate area because it's just so crappy from the communication aspect of it. So that's the one I was using for TripAdvisor as well. Well, when they did Facebook Connect,
You got your real email.
well, and it was very cute how they positioned it, because I knew it was total BS. They go, oh, you need to put in the email address that you use on Facebook Connect. We found there's a difference in email addresses, and for security purposes, we need to use your Facebook one.
Security purposes, yeah.
And you kind of go, okay, that's plausible, and maybe they're trying to get rid of fake people. Okay. I kind of understand that's a plausible, which had nothing to do with anything. It's just like we figure you're checking your Facebook email a lot.
Yeah, we can spam you where you're actually reading emails now.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was a very, very clear. He just smiled. He wouldn't tell me the number, but I could tell it was like, oh yeah. You figured out why we did that, did you? So why we wanted to be a launch partner and not just see how it worked out and kind of follow later. Anyway, but but then the other thing on Ctrip is again in China, you look at Airbnb has made some pretty big bold moves there with Shiji, but Oyo is out there signing up with Ctrip too, right? So you kind of go, oh, well, that's again, new, different kind of lodging. Is that going to kill all hotels everywhere? No, and you look at the numbers that they're looking at when you read this article on Oyo, getting more reach in Asia. Their target market, their ADR is $15 a night US. Yeah. Right? I mean, we are talking super low ADR, broad attraction of new travelers coming into the ecosystem. But boy, talk about smart. Ctrip has really, really smart management too. They're sitting there going, right, these are new travelers who are going to be traveling domestically. They're going to be staying in Oyos. They're going to be booking through Ctrip. They're going to be sharing their stuff on our Instagram-like platform. Yeah. And guess what? When the middle class really starts developing more and these guys decide they want to go see whatever, the Hollywood sign or the Statue of Liberty or, Wazoo Falls, Ctrip makes sense. So really, really interesting.
It's very smart. But I mean, it's basically a growth strategy, and it's a really smart one for Ctrip and Oyo. I think both of them benefit. So we've seen a couple of really good partnerships in today's show. This is another one.
Yep, and I think there's just going to be more of these. There is this one with. Well, no, we don't have to go into it, but these hotels that are winding up really. It's the Taco Bell pop-up hotel, right? And it's it's all of these kind of new, brand. Well, I guess I'll do it. Our branded hotel's a marketing trend, right? But you start going through these and you go, these guys are starting to extend out into more. These brands are trying to get more relevant in terms of individuals' lifestyles, and not just be kind of an occasional sort of thing. Can they do it? Now, I don't know about the Taco Bell.
Well, I mean, it's only open for 5 days. It's a total publicity
stunt. That's a total
stunt,
publicity stunt. Yeah. But you start looking at some of the other ones, and yes, they're still doing pop-ups and things like that, but you start going, I don't know. I think that the Trivial Pursuit Hotel, now again, that's a pop-up one.
Yeah, it's only for a couple of weeks, and it's gamified. Yeah. It's cute, right? And it promotes the game Trivial Pursuit.
But the gamification of it is a really interesting aspect where you have to answer questions. I thought the Casper one of Casper mattresses.
That's smart. Now, and I think we're seeing a trend of that. It is. It's
nap rooms, right?
Right. And I think that's what we'll see. We'll see more kind of co-branded hotels and stuff like that. And what we're talking about with the Taco Bell and the Casper and stuff, it definitely, hey, these are marketing shticks, right? Just like, really some other brands outside of hospitality have done that with other things. Really, you could say that the Apple Store is an advertising shtick, although it's more permanent. And I think that can work for certain brands. I mean, you look at, going back to the very start of the show, the Star Wars Hotel. really, that's going to drive a lot of revenue, but it also markets their movies and their TV shows and their merchandise and all the other stuff. It's part of their big marketing plan. You've got brands like Margaritaville, hotels that have obviously taken on from all the other Margaritaville restaurants and the music and the festivals and all the other stuff, the merchandise that it shows. Yeah. So, I think it can work, but I think we need to be careful of looking at each one individually and not saying, hey, this is a trend that everyone's jumping on. Can it work as a pop-up? Absolutely. Taco Bell has gotten so much press. And I think 90% of people that have read the headlines or just read the top of the article don't realize it only is going to exist for 5 days.
Oh, right. There are going to be people out there looking for...
Right. They're going to be Googling, I want to go to Taco Bell. But the reality is they haven't even said how you can book. There's going to be 18 people total staying in that hotel over 5 days, and they haven't said who those 18 are. You better believe those are going to be some of the biggest influencers on the internet. They're going to probably get some of the biggest YouTubers or Instagram celebs to come stay, because it's all about promoting the brand Taco Bell. It's not about the hotel at all.
Right. And you don't know, the Taco Bell may be trying to figure this out, going, how do we get more of our restaurants into hotels aren't doing room service. Taco Bell stays open late. Sort of thing. You want a quesadilla?
I mean, it could. Burrito? Yeah, I really don't think. I mean, they could be doing what Starbucks done to get into hotels, but I think it's more just, hey, here's a brand awareness. A lot of what Taco Bell has done over the years has been shocking, sensational, and newsworthy. It's
Red Bull, the Red Bull type approach.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, hey, the more people can hear the word Taco Bell, that's all we care about, because the name itself tells people what it is. We don't need to put a brand message with that. It's just, hey, let's get top of mind.
Because when they're hungry and high and it's late, they aren't thinking about, they aren't considering other alternatives.
No. So I think Taco Bell is just one in a long line of folks that have kind of leveraged some kind of hotel theme for a short period. I think it's brilliant. I think they've done a really successful job of getting, and it's not even opened yet. And look how many articles have been written about it.
Well, Restoration Hardware did the same thing. I mean, they've been out there, and I don't know if their hotel in the Meatpacking District in New York is open yet, because I think they announced it probably 4 or 5 years ago, but took them 2 or 3 years to get permits and things like that. Sure. But West Elm, Restoration Hardware, a lot of those folks are going into hotels. Laura Ashley, which is an older, kind of an older brand that for a while was very popular with women's clothing and things like that. I'm not sure what really happened there, but I think they have some hotels that did very, very well, because it fit the whole kind of, you like this kind of English, nice print type things, and it's fashion and design, all that sort of makes a lot of sense. I mean, and you've got ones like Bulgari, which is now a Marriott brand. I mean, Bulgari was it's an Italian jewelry store, which actually the first one I think in the U.S. was in the lobby of the Pierre Hotel, weirdly enough. But that's now a hotel brand, and you've got all the other, Ferrari,
Sure.
I just think there's lots of opportunities. Again, if you can make a unique property in the right places, the right cities, that makes sense. So I don't know if you want to go to La Rutro?
Yeah, let's do that, because I got to leave pretty soon, probably in about 10 minutes. So let's do the Rutro.
Okay, the Rutro is a big Rutro, I think. So it's not the end of the world, but I think it's one of those things where you go, oh, this is not good. And what's happened is gross operating profit for U.S. hotels slipped for the first time in the first quarter of 2019. Which means, and again, this is all the U.S. hotels. This isn't just like, oh, this little sector didn't do so well. This is the industry as a whole.
This is an average, the
average profitability.
So let's put it in context, right? Because the primary driver of that wasn't necessarily a decrease in demand. It was an increase in cost. Right. So,
and it's a double whammy. Basically, revenue per available room dropped 1.6% year over year, and basically that's not a good thing. But and overall, profitability fell by 3.7%. So you go, okay, well, half of it, or a little bit, 40% came from revenue per available room dropping, but the bottom
majority
line
was cost.
labor. Yeah. Labor cost, payroll levels increased 3.2%. So
which, when you're dealing with a 2% unemployment rate, it's hard to, and the situation with the visas, it's a very competitive labor market. A lot of folks that I work with, one of their biggest initiatives right now is how do we find ways to get more staff? Like, a lot of folks, we got groups now that have a whole marketing budget dedicated to recruiting, and they've created entire PR campaigns
and retention,
employee satisfaction, stuff like that. And this is a real threat to the industry, is a lack of quality labor, affordable quality labor.
It's interesting. My daughter has a kind of a second summer job. She's got a primary one, but she's doing another one to get additional cash, and it's kind of a retail thing, and health and beauty related business. Last year, I think it was paying like $10 an hour, which normally you would think, and it's just kind of more like a receptionist kind of customer contact person, cashiering type stuff. And she loves it. It's great. It's really easy. She can study when people are around. It's a great job, great summer job for her. But last year it was paying $10 an hour, which is great because it's higher than minimum wage. She's like, this is perfect. This year she's discovered, they're paying people $11 an hour. I think it's 3 or 4 months that you stay, you get an additional 25 cents an hour, right? And it just keeps going. There's no cap. You want to stay for 10 years, you're going to get, whatever, $4 more an hour, just structurally, sort of thing, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And for full-time staff, they aren't doing this, oh no, we'll keep it all up. They're like, full benefits, all that sort of thing.
They have to be competitive.
They have to, because they want reliable people in there who are taking people's appointments and knowing what's going on and all that sort of thing, and having some continuity. Yes, the managers, there's someone managing it and stuff like that, but and then there's like the people who are providing the services and things like that. And again, it's almost like a haircutting place, right? I don't know if these guys wind up paying them to kind of rent the chair or that sort of thing, right. But again, you want some level of consistency and not just people hopping around to the best deal, and that's tough. And then on the other side of it, we started off talking about these franchise fees, those are going up, right? And it's not just maybe the raw franchise fee, it's the reward program costs, it's the distribution costs. All that stuff is rising.
Well, they're certainly not going down. Any of your costs are usually not going down. Your distribution costs are going up. Your utility costs are going up. Your insurance costs are going up. Everything's going up. And that's okay if you can make your ADR continue to increase, but we're at a point where you can't. So you got to figure out ways to maintain profitability. One of the things that a lot of our resort type clients are looking at is, then they're testing it, but what impact does it have when we go from daily housekeeping to maybe just switching out the towels and emptying the trash on a daily basis? And are there things that we can do that we can pass on a benefit to the guest as well? I stayed earlier in the year. I stayed at the Sandestin Resort down in Destin, Florida, and they do a thing where if you forego housekeeping, depending on the length of your stay, I was there for 3 nights, and they said if you don't have housekeeping while you're here, we'll give you 2 free drink tickets per day that you're here, because it's cheaper for them for me to go have a beer, knowing that I'll probably drink a couple of beers and spend money as well, than it is for them to hire someone to clean that room for those 2 or 3 nights. So,
as long as you don't drink too many beers, and really trash the room afterward.
But for me, that was the right way to do it, right? Because if they just came to me and said, "Hey, you're not getting housekeeping," even though I'm the kind of person, when I'm only staying somewhere 2 days, I keep the do not disturb thing on the door, and I don't want people in my room. I'm not particularly messy, and I don't make a lot of trash, so I don't feel the need just because I'm in a hotel to switch out the towel every time.
That's so
every
weird
day,
because
right?
Lauren has told me when he stays in a hotel, he keeps like the door open 24 hours.
Yeah,
Like, come on
yeah,
inside, and
that's
has a little
yeah.
buffet table to
That
invite in
sounds like
strangers.
Lauren, and he probably live streams the whole thing. But
Exactly.
I'm the kind of person that doesn't particularly want the housekeeping. But if they were to tell me, "Hey, you're paying the same price you did last year, but now you're not getting housekeeping,"
Oh yeah, that's
I
a
feel like I was
dissatisfied.
getting,
Yeah,
shorted. So, and that would create frustration. But by Sandestin, what they did by saying, "Hey, it's your choice. You can have the regular housekeeping, or you can have free booze." And
yeah,
I'm like, this. You just improved my experience and saved
exactly.
yourself money and made
Yeah,
more profit.
yeah,
So that's really a win-win. And that's, I think,
yeah.
hotels are going to have to get creative. So rather than just going the easy route and saying, "Hey, we're going to cut service or reduce costs some other way,"
Right,
think about creative ways that you can do that, but not negatively impact the guest.
right. Yeah, no,
And booze always helps.
that does, and yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not to the guests if it winds up being the let's bring back prohibition sector or anything like that.
Yeah, you got to
Maybe
check your
some
group. Yeah, for sure.
subset of guests where you got to make
Yeah.
sure your reward is
Maybe
beneficial
not the
to.
Southern Baptist
Yeah,
charter or something like that. Yeah, stay away
exactly.
from folks like
Yeah,
that. But yeah, you can offer perks. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be bottles of water and snacks. You can be
right.
creative about it, but
Absolutely.
offer
Something with
offer
a low
something
food cost. Yeah,
tangible. Yeah, often
yeah.
offer something tangible and valuable that costs you less than cleaning a room, and it
Right.
could make a big difference.
Yeah. Yep. No. Absolutely. And again, get back to that whole hospitality type thing. So
Yeah, imagine that. But
yeah.
the fact that the GoPar is decreased for the first time in a quarter, the fact that yes, it was primarily driven by cost, but also RevPAR was down a
Mhm.
little. These are the indications we've been talking about. We're looking for that
Yeah.
we could be beginning to see a downturn. Whatever's going to happen in the next year or two on the Trump front in terms of another election, in terms of
Yeah.
potential impeachment, in terms of tariffs. I mean, there's a lot of volatility. You look at
Well.
the
Yeah.
market crash, just today, and because of the volatility, we don't know what the economy is going to hold in the next couple of years. Regardless of your political persuasion, you're not immune to that. So
Right.
you got to proof your property now from that downturn by
And
reducing reliance on OTAs.
the U.S. Yeah, which is really interesting. The U.S. posture towards China has
Yeah,
now reduced China. It had the lowest volume of Chinese travelers since I think 2015 or something,
yeah,
which let me tell you, Chinese travel is exploding.
yeah,
And you're reading more articles about over tourism of destinations, which is being contributed to heavily by the Chinese.
hmm
Um, yeah, you don't want U.S. not playing in that sector.
yeah,
Sort of thing. That is the easiest way. I still maintain tourism is the easiest way to drive GDP and balance of payments. I mean, it says, hey, it's their money coming from those countries getting dropped in our country.
yeah,
That seems pretty fair.
yeah, for sure.
And it employs people here. What do you
Yeah,
know?
how about that?
This all seems okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's
But
maybe
yeah,
U.S. Travel Association or whatever. Maybe it's hard for them to get to get the time of day from the administration. I understand, but they don't really want to fund it. And you've got a lot of these destinations. Mexico just did this. They defunded their tourist board. Right.
mhm.
And it's just like, the national tourist board. So now all the different destinations are kind of doing their own thing, but a little bit short-sighted, I think, for some of these countries trying
For
to
sure,
get stuff figured. Now,
for
if it's
sure.
grossly inefficient and they're wasting money, fine,
Which
figure that
which
out.
large overreaching DMOs can be for sure.
Absolutely. So anyway,
Yeah,
we'll see.
but
Well,
I would say this isn't the last article we're going to be talking about on this show that's showing indications of a potential
no.
challenge facing the industry, a potential
Doing
downturn.
doing a Tim Peter. I think I wrote a blog post in 2016 about the plateau had been hit, right, in terms of this whole growth of occupancy and rates. it can't be maintained. I mean, the industry kind of hits this structural 70-ish% occupancy, and you've got hotels that are kind of suited to business and business travel, and ones that are more suited to weekends and leisure.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them haven't really cracked the code for how can you get up to structurally run 80-90%. And of course, there's new hotel supply, but still, how do you get more people traveling and more people staying is a big. How do you increase demand for travel? Right, that's the big thing,
and not lose the demand that we've grown. I mean, I think people discount specifically in certain destinations. The children team travel, the sports tourism. Where you talked earlier about dancing and soccer and baseball and all this stuff,
Absolutely.
and how big that has gotten in the last 10 years. It's grown from almost zero to this massive driver of the economy.
And the process is miserable.
It is. As a parent that went through that for 3 or 4 years with kids playing travel soccer, we just got to the point where we're like, this doesn't make sense. It's not like my kids are going to play for Manchester United one day. Why am I spending all this money, locally with the team, but also traveling every weekend and staying in the hotels and, obviously contributing to the economy, but it just didn't make sense. I feel like, we've probably hit close to saturation point of that market, and I would not be surprised if we saw somewhat of a retraction in that market, which, especially if the economy turns, that's a market that's going to get hit first, because it is a luxury to a lot of people. And it's one that will go very quickly because it's a quick way for a family of 4 to save a couple of $1,000s a year when the economy turns.
Yep. Oh no, absolutely. And the whole small group area, actually, Bill Carroll, who's a retired Cornell professor, and I was also a Focusrite analyst, and we were just finishing off a paper.
So you just filled up a whole bingo card right there with that.
I did, right there. Yeah. Well, I had to. We're getting to the end here. We're after the rut row.
Yeah.
But with that, we're writing a paper on group travel right now, which hopefully will be out shortly. I delayed. Bill took a great first stab at it. My contributions slowed down the process. aside from that,
if I had $1 for every time I'd heard that.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to get some stats in there, and I actually thank you to CBRE and STR for providing some very nice stats that are getting.
Are you still doing your thing where you collect data on a weekly basis? When you
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Do you publish that anywhere, or is it just for your own?
I don't. I do speak with a particular equity analyst who we I do some work with them to talk. Actually, and they are putting together a very, very, very interesting analysis of online travel agencies. They're starting to go into that sector because they've always looked at certainly REITs, management companies and brands in the hotel sector, right? And been very, very thorough in terms of their equity analysis of that. But now they're not shifting focus; they're adding on, research of kind of the demand drivers on the OTA side, right? And gotcha. That their analysis is some of the best that I've seen across. And I work with another group more in the internet sector who's a very prominent equity analyst. But yeah, their stuff's better, I think. Yeah. They're really, and again, it's this whole domain expertise thing. They really understand this part of it, and their informed view isn't kind of from the top down. Oh, look at how many unique visitors and what are they generating in profit and what's their take rate. It's more like what's happening on the other side and the impact. Since the hotels are funding all the OTA, I mean, that's the source of the funding, right? Right. But it's not airline. It is not car rental, right? It's not.
There's no margins in
all hotels.
It's all hotel margins. Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, that's interesting. But yeah, my stats have shown it ain't great. Mm-hmm. So I should show my spreadsheets at some point of how they're laid out. They are quite sophisticated.
So maybe next show you should break.
Maybe the 200th anniversary we can do a deep dive on how to do year over year and 12-month moving out moving 12-month moving average analysis and conditional formatting of things to highlight things in different colors. Yeah. Deep dive into advanced Excel data functions.
Nice.
Yeah. But,
Nice. So
perhaps not. Yeah.
So if people are having trouble with their pivot tables and they need to reach out to you for help, where can they reach you?
Well, yeah, Rock Cheetah's new pillar. I've pivoted. It's rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole on social media.
Awesome.
Happy to tell you what you need to do, not do it for you.
I need that gig. I need that gig one day where you just tell people all the things they're doing wrong.
Exactly.
And then you walk away.
Isn't that what Ed does? You're doing it wrong.
That's right.
You idiot.
That's right.
That's it. We all aspire to be Ed Stonge at some point in the future.
Ed Stonge. Ed Stongy.
I like Stonge. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a weird kind of a word. It's
Stongy does kind of have a nerdy sort of perspective to it. Stonge just sounds a little bit more badass. I'm not sure. Yeah, heavily, lots of tats. Big face tat.
It's Stonge. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, it's been a pleasure, spending time with you. And unfortunately, Lauren is off in the Netherlands. Ed, I believe, is in line or something at Anaheim. As far as I can tell.
No, he told me he had client meetings back to back today. So
yeah. He's in line.
Clients.
He's probably out in Anaheim and just doesn't want to.
He's ready to do Smuggler's Run before me. Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, and Tim claims that he's not in line at Anaheim, but yeah, he had some client.
Yeah,
so I don't know. Now, see, I try to put my client things around the show. I just tell them, hey, in this block, can we move it around? Is there another? And most of them are okay with that.
Yeah.
And when they aren't, I'm not here. But anyway.
Most clients are accommodating for sure.
Show number 199, guys. You got to set your priorities. So.
This is true.
Anyway, so that's very good. And fuel travel.
Oh, if they want to find us, the best way is fueltravel.com. We have a wonderful podcast you can subscribe to right there at fueltravel.com/podcast. We just,
it's better if I say your podcast is wonderful than you saying it.
Well, if I do say so myself, yeah. We have a podcast. What do you think about our podcast, Robert?
I had no idea you had a podcast. No,
that's funny.
The great two high value podcasts. Tim Peter Thinks, if you want short, concise 15-20-minute snippets, or if you want to go more the hour,
long, drawn out, not lots of shenanigans type of episodes.
Shenanigans. If you are looking for shenanigans, audio shenanigans,
and occasionally some tomfoolery gets thrown in as well. So that's the podcast. For you.
I think that needs to be your tagline: audio shenanigans with occasional tomfoolery.
You know what? We're recording a show this afternoon on SEO 101, so we're gonna. I might have to throw that in there because there will certainly be shenanigans and maybe a little smidge of tomfoolery in it.
SEO 101. A title tag for your website, perhaps.
We might be doing some. The show notes might be in the format of us getting some good clickbaity stuff in a lot of
SEO is dead. What is the title?
I don't know. Our last one was we've already did one on Is SEO Dead? But we did last week's one was shocking predictions for high tech 2019. There was nothing shocking in the episode. It was all pretty regular, but when you put those kind of words in there, people click on it.
That's what was shocking. It's shocking. There's nothing big.
Nothing. Yeah. And we referenced you in it, and we referenced Flip2 and Trust You and Navis were contributors of thoughts in that one. So go check out that episode and 100+ others. We're going to be, like I said, recording an SEO episode today, and that'll probably be published next week sometime. But in the meantime, if you want to learn more about Fuel Travel, our amazing booking engine, mobile app, and eCRM solutions, or our marketing services, fueltravel.com, or we're going to be at High Tech at booth 2920. So if you want to come see us in person, we're going to be giving out a new travel study that we're wrapping up right now. A lot of in-depth analysis on how people plan and book their hotels and what other stuff they do. Like, are they using voice search? Do they have smart speakers? Do they use mobile apps? A lot of that kind of stuff. We asked a lot of questions and some really interesting data.
Is the title "Shocking Insights from Hotel Guest Behavior"?
There may be some blog articles coming out with those. The actual study is going to be probably just the 2019 leisure travel study, because every year we do it, and it's just the 2018 leisure travel study.
Not the top 10 must know.
No, that'll be the blogs and the podcast episode.
Yeah, the shocking. You won't believe number 7.
Yeah. I think actually I've got an article coming out, or got to write next week for hotelexecutive.com, and the title is going to be the 6 most shocking insights from the 2019 leisure travel study, or something like that. So yeah, that clickbaity stuff will come, but really the meat of it is in the study itself, and we're going to be giving that out at booth 2920 at HITECH. So stop by and get your free copy.
Physical hard copy.
Physical hard copy. Good
so
old.
You're anti-sustainability. Okay.
We just feel like the value of having that tangible
of butchering trees and the pain.
Yeah, it's all recycled paper. We're okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Explain that to the first tree who was cut down the first time. Yeah, we're going to get high utilization out of you by grinding you up and mashing
multiple times,
over and over, and you're dead. The dead husk of your corpse. Yeah. So
the majority of folks will get it electronically after HITECH, though. So we will be distributing it via our website as a download. We're limiting the number of trees.
Getting modern, are you? Wow.
Yeah, we're trying to be a digital company. You know?
Now that you've figured out these hyperlinks. Wow.
That's right.
You can link to a PDF. Really?
It's amazing. This World Wide Web. I tell you, man. I think it's here to stay.
Exactly. So, okay. Well, very good. See you next week for show number 200.
Bicentennial.
My theory is we will be no better prepared or have any better structure for that show than any others. So continuity, and consistency, the hallmarks of this broadcast.
Yeah, we have brand standards. They're very low brand standards, but they are standards.
They are, yes, exactly. So, because we haven't figured out the term for an absence of standards. So,
It's a stonge. That's the
other ones. Other ones may have a donut. We're more like the whole, which makes it unique.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right, guys. We'll see you next week, everyone.
Very good. Bye bye.